Hello, and welcome to another episode in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. My name is Jason Perkins. I'm an attorney who specializes in handling Georgia workers' compensation cases. I created this series of videos to provide people who've been hurt at work in Georgia with helpful information about Georgia's workers' compensation laws and the benefits they should receive under those laws. Now, let's jump straight into today's topic. Today, I'd like to discuss with you increases in workers' compensation payments. Now, the workers' compensation insurance company or a self-insured employer may make certain types of payments to you after you suffer an injury at work. There are different types of workers' compensation payments that can be made. So let's talk first about what those different types of payments are. The most common types of workers' compensation payments are the following. One is weekly payments that may be made to you after an injury. Those types of payments are temporary total disability benefits, temporary partial disability benefits, and permanent partial disability benefits. Temporary total and temporary partial disability benefits compensate you for wage loss as a result of your injury. Permanent partial disability benefits compensate you for permanent impairment or a loss of use that you may have as a result of your injury at work. Now, another type of payment that you may receive from the workers' compensation insurance company is a reimbursement for mileage traveled to get medical treatment, either to see the doctor or go to the hospital, physical therapy, pharmacy, or to get some sort of diagnostic testing done. If it's medical treatment or testing that you're getting as a result of your workers' compensation injury, if workers' compensation is paying for the cost of that medical treatment, then they should also reimburse you if you're having to drive to get that medical treatment done. And the third common type of payment is a workers' compensation settlement payment. Settlement is basically an agreement between you and the insurance company to accept a certain amount of money in exchange for your future workers' compensation rights. Now, let's talk about how your workers' compensation payments amount are determined before we talk about whether those payments can be increased. With regard to your temporary total disability, temporary partial disability, or permanent partial disability, those weekly payments, one of the main factors that determines the amount of the payment is something called your average weekly wage. This is calculated based on what you were earning at the time that you got hurt. There are three different ways to calculate it. The most common way is looking at what you averaged in the 3 months before your injury. If that method's not used, then what a similar employee averaged in the 3 months before your injury is used. Or if not that method, then what's called full-time weekly wage. So that average weekly wage is calculated when it comes to temporary total disability or permanent partial disability benefits. The amount of your payment is 2/3 of your average weekly wage, but there is a maximum amount. So if 2/3 of your average weekly wage exceeds the maximum amount for your date of injury, then you're going to be capped at the maximum amount. With regards to temporary partial disability, the average weekly wage is also used, but it's compared to what you're earning after your injury, and you're paid a percentage of the difference to determine the payment amount. With regard to mileage, the amount of your mileage reimbursement is determined by the State Board of Workers' Compensation. They determine the amount per mile that you're reimbursed. Currently, as of 2024, the amount per mile is 45 cents per mile. It was previously lower than that, and it may be increased in the future. With regard to a settlement, the amount of the settlement is determined by negotiation between the parties about the workers' compensation case. So if you have an attorney representing you in your workers' compensation case, your attorney and the insurance company, or the attorney that represents the insurance company, will negotiate back and forth about settlement amount. And if you're agreeable to the amount that the insurance company will offer to settle your case, then there'll be a settlement reached. If there's no agreement, then a settlement is not reached. Now, with regard to each of these payment amounts, can these payment amounts increase in a workers' compensation case? Well, let's talk about the weekly payment amounts first. For temporary total disability and permanent partial disability, those amounts generally do not increase unless they were calculated incorrectly to begin with. So when the insurance company starts making payments to you, they'll calculate the amount of the payment that they think they owe to you in temporary total disability or permanent partial disability benefit amounts. Often, they may calculate this amount incorrectly. And if they do, the amount of your payment can be agreed upon to be a higher amount, or you can potentially go to court and get a higher amount awarded by a workers' compensation judge to get to the correct amount of what your payment should be. But once that correct amount is determined, that payment amount never goes up. There's no inflation or cost of living adjustment in Georgia workers' compensation claims. Now, with regard to temporary partial disability, there can sometimes be an increase in the payment amount per week, but that would usually be because your earnings go down. So since temporary partial disability is comparing what you were earning before you got hurt to what you're earning after you got hurt, if you're suddenly able to earn less after you get hurt, then the amount of your temporary partial disability might increase. Now, with mileage payment reimbursements, they can go up in the future if the State Board of Workers' Compensation increases the mileage reimbursement rate. However, if the State Board doesn't increase it, they will stay the same. Now, with settlement payments, the way to potentially get a settlement increased is negotiating. So if the insurance company's only offering a certain amount to settle your case, then an attorney representing you could negotiate with them and hopefully get the amount that they're willing to offer increased. This takes a good bit of knowledge about what is going to cause the insurance company to offer increased amount of settlement, which is basically showing the insurance company that your case is likely to cost them more money in the future, and knowing the right things to discuss with them to convince them of that. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you have, please consider two things before you go. First, I'd really appreciate if you give this video a like or a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to this channel if you'd like to be notified of future videos in the Georgia Workers' Compensation video series. Second, if you've got workers' compensation questions, please reach out to get answers. I offer free consultations in Georgia workers' compensation cases. If you'd like to set one of those up, there's two easy ways you can do so. The first is by calling the phone number at the bottom of the screen, and the other is by reaching out to us to our website, which is www.perkinslawtalk.com. Just click on and submit the free consultation request form there, and a member of our team will reach out to you and get a consultation scheduled. I'd like to thank you again for watching this video today. I'd like to wish you the best of luck as you recover from your injuries.